Have you ever wondered how a television show that once made millions of people laugh every week could suddenly disappear from the air? It sounds almost impossible. Yet that is exactly what happened to The Benny Hill Show, a comedy empire that dominated television for decades, only to collapse almost overnight. When the show first appeared on January 15, 1955, few could have predicted the cultural phenomenon it would become. Benny Hill, born Alfred Hawthorne Hill, wasn't raised as a celebrity. Before comedy found him, he worked ordinary jobs, a milkman, a bridge operator, even a drummer. But he carried something special, the ability to make people laugh without saying a word. His comedy mixed slapstick, parody, music, and mime. One minute he was impersonating famous celebrities, the next he was slipping on a chair or chasing a ridiculous situation into pure chaos. Audiences loved it. The sketches felt playful and unpredictable, almost like silent film comedy reborn for television. You could see echoes of Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, but with a cheeky British twist. By 1969, when the show moved to ITV and Thames Television, it exploded in popularity. The famous closing chases, set to the wild saxophone tune Yakety Sax, became iconic. Crowds around the world laughed as characters ran through parks, streets, and absurd situations in fast-motion comedy mayhem. At its peak, the show was unstoppable. In 1977, it drew more than 21 million viewers in the United Kingdom alone. Even more impressive, it was broadcast in 97 countries, proving that physical comedy can cross languages and cultures. A raised eyebrow, a ridiculous fall, or a perfectly timed slapstick gag could make anyone laugh, from London to Los Angeles. But here's where the story takes a complicated turn. Comedy doesn't live in a vacuum. As the 1970s and 1980s unfolded, society began changing. Conversations about gender equality and media representation grew louder. Suddenly, the same jokes that once seemed harmless began to feel outdated to some viewers. Critics argued that certain sketches, especially those involving women in revealing costumes or chase scenes, reflected stereotypes that no longer fit a changing world. Benny Hill defended his work, saying the humor was meant to be playful and absurd. In his sketches, the men were usually the fools, the ones slipping, stumbling, or humiliating themselves. Still, the criticism kept growing. Comedy tastes were shifting, and television networks started searching for newer formats that reflected modern audiences. Then came the numbers. By the late 1980s, ratings had fallen dramatically, from that massive 21 million peak down to fewer than 10 million viewers. At the same time, the show was expensive to produce. Large sets, musical numbers, and elaborate sketches cost money. For the network, it became a difficult equation, declining audiences and rising costs. So in May 1989, Benny Hill was called into a meeting. He believed he was discussing the next series. Instead, he was told the show would end. Just like that, one of Britain's most recognizable comedy programs vanished. Yet here's the fascinating part of the story. Even after its cancellation, the legacy of the Benny Hill Show didn't disappear. Its sketches, music, and unforgettable characters remained part of television history. And decades later, people still revisit those chaotic chase scenes and perfectly timed jokes. Because comedy, like life, evolves. What makes us laugh changes with time. But the courage to make millions smile, that never really fades. And if stories about the hidden rise and fall of legendary entertainers intrigue you, there are many more fascinating journeys waiting to be uncovered right here.